In the hallowed federal courtroom of Newark, New Jersey, Judge Amy Coney Barrett surveyed the scene with steely certainty, her sharp legal mind primed for victory. Across from her sat Bruce Springsteen, the legendary rock star, clad in faded jeans and a worn leather jacket, his weathered hands folded calmly. To Barrett, this was a straightforward case, a celebrity landlord exploiting his fame to dodge accountability for neglecting tenants. She was ready to deliver justice, to prove that no star shone brighter than the law. But what unfolded in the next 30 minutes shattered her assumptions, silenced the packed gallery, and left even the judge herself grappling with awe and humility. This is the electrifying saga of how a man the world knew for his music revealed a mastery of law, turning a high-profile trial into a testament to preparation, dignity, and the power of defying expectations. If you believe respect is earned through hard work, not titles or appearances, hit that like button and subscribe, because this story will ignite your faith in justice and the human spirit. The courtroom buzzed with anticipation that Tuesday morning, its oak-paneled walls echoing with the weight of a case that had gripped the nation. Reporters crammed the gallery, cameras lined the halls, and legal scholars jostled for seats, sensing a career-defining spectacle. 6 months earlier, Springsteen's property management company had been sued by tenants of a low-income housing complex in Asbury Park, alleging unsafe conditions, illegal rent hikes, and violations of federal housing laws. The media had pounced, branding the rock icon a hypocrite, his songs of working-class struggle now mocked as hollow. Headlines screamed of a millionaire exploiting the very people he'd championed, painting him as a callous landlord hiding behind wealth and fame. Judge Barrett, at 52, was a judicial titan, her reputation forged through a no-nonsense approach to high-profile cases. Known for her incisive intellect and commitment to equal justice, she treated celebrities with the same rigor as any defendant, sometimes harsher, to underscore the law's impartiality. She had meticulously prepared, delving into housing statutes and tenant rights, confident she'd hold Springsteen accountable. As she entered the courtroom, her stride radiated authority, her black robe a symbol of unyielding principle. She was ready to dismantle the defenses of a man she assumed relied on charisma and costly lawyers to escape scrutiny. Springsteen sat quietly at the defendant's table, an enigma amid the chaos. Flanked by 3 high-powered attorneys from a Manhattan firm, their tailored suits and bulging briefcases screamed privilege. To observers, it was the classic setup, a celebrity wielding wealth to sidestep justice. Yet something about Springsteen stood apart. While his lawyers whispered and shuffled papers, he read a thick legal textbook, jotting notes with a focus that belied his rock star persona. Outside the courthouse, when reporters pressed him, his responses were startlingly precise, laced with legal nuance far beyond typical celebrity soundbites. The gallery whispered, sensing an undercurrent of something unexpected, but none could predict the storm about to break. The trial opened with Margaret Chen, the plaintiff's attorney, painting a harrowing portrait of neglect. A dedicated housing rights lawyer, Chen presented damning evidence, photos of leaking roofs, faulty wiring, and broken heaters, testimonies from elderly tenants living in fear of eviction for raising complaints. Her voice trembled with righteous fury, each exhibit tightening the noose around Springsteen's reputation. Judge Barrett's expression grew grave, her pen moving swiftly as she noted the violations. When Chen concluded, the judge turned to Springsteen's lead attorney, Michael Davidson, her tone icy. "Mr. Davidson, I trust you have a compelling explanation for your client's actions. These conditions are deplorable." Davidson rose, launching into a predictable defense. Mismanagement by the property company, Springsteen's touring schedule, and his lack of direct oversight. Barrett's patience frayed, her voice sharp. "Your client owns these properties, Mr. Davidson. The responsibility is his. Are you suggesting he was entirely unaware of this neglect?" Before Davidson could respond, a voice cut through from the defendant's table. "Your Honor, may I address the court directly?" Springsteen stood, his hand raised with quiet respect. The room froze. Davidson, visibly alarmed, objected. "Your Honor, my client doesn't need—" Barrett silenced him, her curiosity piqued. "Mr. Davidson, your client has the right to speak. Mr. Springsteen, proceed, but be warned. Your words are on the record." Springsteen approached the podium, his presence commanding yet humble, no trace of the swagger one might expect. His faded jacket and steady gaze defied the image of a cornered celebrity. "Your Honor," he began, his voice resonant with conviction, "I acknowledge the tenants' grievances. Their pain is real, their complaints valid. But there are critical facts this court hasn't heard, and I believe they change the story." Barrett leaned forward, her skepticism tinged with intrigue. This was no rehearsed apology, it was a declaration of intent. "Go on," she said, her tone softer, sensing history unfolding. "The properties were acquired in 2019 through a foreclosure," Springsteen explained, his words measured but firm. "We inherited a federal consent decree from the prior owner, mandating fixes for 15 years of housing violations." Barrett's eyes widened slightly. Such legal specificity was unexpected from a musician. Under Section 8 of the Housing Act of 1937, as amended, and 24 CFR 982-401's housing quality standards, we were obligated to restore compliance while preserving affordable housing for tenants. The judge blinked, caught off guard by his precise citation of federal code. Murmurs rippled through the gallery, reporters scribbling furiously. Springsteen pressed on, consulting handwritten notes with scholarly focus. The Supreme Court's ruling in Hills v. Gautreaux imposes an affirmative duty on housing providers like us to remedy past discrimination without displacing tenants. We took that duty seriously. Margaret Chen, the plaintiff's attorney, glanced up sharply, her confidence wavering. Barrett's expression shifted from surprise to fascination as Springsteen referenced a landmark case with flawless accuracy. "Mr. Springsteen," she interjected, her voice slow, "are these remarks from prepared notes?" He met her gaze, unflinching. "No, Your Honor. I'm speaking from my study of housing law, which I've pursued intensively for 4 years." The courtroom buzzed, even Davidson looking stunned. Springsteen reached into his jacket, producing a thick folder. "Your Honor, I'd like to submit evidence omitted from the plaintiff's case. May I approach?" Barrett nodded, her composure tested. He handed her a meticulously organized stack, work orders, contracts, inspection reports, detailing a $2.8 million renovation program launched post-acquisition. "These show systematic improvements over 3 years," he said, his voice steady but passionate. Barrett flipped through, noting legal tabs and cross-references that rivaled seasoned attorneys' work. "Your Honor," Springsteen continued, "the plaintiff's photos of poor conditions are real, but their dates were not disclosed. Most were taken in 2019 during our initial assessment, before renovations began." Chen leapt up. "Objection! The defendant's claims are unsubstantiated." Barrett's eyes narrowed. "Mr. Springsteen, can you substantiate this?" He returned with another folder, his calm unshaken. "These metadata reports from Discovery's digital files, verified by a forensic analyst, confirm the photos' creation dates." The judge examined the technical analysis, her amazement growing. The evidence was impeccable, exposing a critical flaw in the plaintiff's case. Springsteen wasn't done. "On the claim of illegal rent increases," he said, producing more documents, "New Jersey's rent stabilization law, NJSA 2A 4284.3, allows adjustments for capital improvements enhancing habitability with proper notice and municipal approval. These schedules, cost breakdowns, and tenant notifications comply fully, each increase vetted by the local rent control board." Barrett studied the papers, her initial certainty crumbling. The documents were airtight, undermining the plaintiff's narrative of exploitation. Addressing unsafe conditions, Springsteen cited Section 27205 of the New York City Housing Maintenance Code, adopted by New Jersey municipalities, sets standards our properties not only meet, but exceed. He presented inspection certificates from 3 independent authorities, all showing superior compliance. Chen's discomfort was palpable, her case unraveling. Barrett set down the documents, her voice measured but tinged with wonder. Mr. Springsteen, where did you acquire this legal expertise? He smiled faintly, the first crack in his solemnity. Your Honor, after buying these properties and seeing the housing struggles in my community, I knew songs weren't enough. I enrolled in Rutgers Law School's part-time evening program 4 years ago. I graduated last month, specializing in housing and poverty law, with a 3.8 GPA, while touring and recording. The courtroom erupted in gasps and whispers. Barrett's jaw slackened, a rare lapse in her composure. Davidson looked as if he'd been struck. You have a law degree? Barrett asked, almost disbelieving. Yes, Your Honor. My thesis explored federal housing policy and community development. She shook her head, incredulous. Why didn't your legal team present this evidence from the start? Springsteen glanced at his attorneys, his tone respectful, but firm. With respect, Your Honor, they assumed a famous client needed PR, not legal rigor. They urged silence, letting them handle it. Barrett's gaze turned to Davidson, her voice sharp. Mr. Davidson, is this accurate? He stood, flustered. Your Honor, we believed a traditional defense was best. Her eyes narrowed. By concealing your client's, qualifications and evidence, that's indefensible. What followed stunned the room. Barrett called a recess to review Springsteen's evidence, her demeanor visibly shaken. When court resumed, her tone had transformed. After examining Mr. Springsteen's submissions, she began, this court finds significant flaws in the plaintiff's case. The photographs are outdated, potentially misleading. Rent increase claims are refuted by municipal approvals. Most critically, the documented renovations reveal responsible ownership, not neglect. Chen tried to interject, but Barrett pressed on, her voice resolute. However, a graver issue has emerged. Mr. Davidson, your representation borders on malpractice. You failed to present vital evidence, misrepresented your client's expertise, and silenced a defendant more qualified than you to argue this case. Davidson paled, his career teetering. Barrett turned to Springsteen, her voice softer, almost reverent. Mr. Springsteen, I owe you an apology. I entered this courtroom assuming you were a celebrity dodging accountability. Instead, you're likely more versed in housing law than many attorneys before me. Your approach, studying the law to serve your community, is what housing advocates dream of. The gallery sat in hushed awe, reporters typing furiously. Moreover, she continued, your ownership reflects a commitment to justice, not exploitation. You didn't just fix problems, you mastered the systems to do it right. She paused, gavel in hand, then made an unprecedented move. Mr. Springsteen, given your expertise and dedication, would you consider serving as a special advisor to this court on housing cases? We see too many negligent landlords and uninformed tenants. Your insight could transform lives. Springsteen rose, his eyes reflecting humble pride. Your Honor, I'd be honored to serve. Barrett smiled, a rare warmth breaking through. Excellent. As for this case, all charges against Mr. Springsteen are dismissed. The evidence proves compliance and responsibility. However, Ms. Chen, your fees from the tenants must be refunded. This case was filed without due diligence, and this court won't tolerate publicity-driven lawsuits. Chen stood to protest, but Barrett cut her off. Ms. Chen, your failure to verify photo dates and investigate renovations is unacceptable. Turning to Davidson, she added, Mr. Davidson, I'm recommending a state bar review of your conduct. Your client outprepared you. That's a disgrace. The courtroom buzzed, the media section a frenzy of activity. The aftermath was seismic. News outlets blazed with headlines. Springsteen's legal mastery stuns court. Rock star turned lawyer humiliates elite attorneys. Legal scholars on CNN and MSNBC praised Springsteen's preparation, critiquing Chen's haste and Davidson's complacency. The story transcended a legal win. It became a cultural touchstone, a parable of humility, hard work, and defying stereotypes. Social media exploded. Springsteen lawyer trending globally. A retired Michigan teacher tweeted, "If Bruce can earn a law degree at 60, I'm dusting off my dream of studying history." A Chicago nurse wrote, "This proves it's never too late to learn. I'm enrolling in college." Working-class fans, who'd grown up on Springsteen's anthems of dignity, saw their hero embody his lyrics, proving justice required action, not just words. 3 weeks later, Barrett called Springsteen to discuss his advisory role. "Bruce," she said, using his first name, "why law school? You could have hired experts." His reply captured the story's heart. "Judge, songs about struggle weren't enough. To fight injustice, I needed to understand the systems behind it. Real change demands knowledge, not just checks or speeches." Springsteen's court work revolutionized housing justice. He developed a mediation program, resolving disputes pre-trial, and launched a free legal clinic educating landlords and tenants. Law schools saw surges in part-time program applications, many citing his example. Chen publicly apologized, reforming her practice to prioritize diligence. Davidson faced bar discipline, but retooled his firm to focus on preparation. Barrett, in interviews, called the case a career-defining lesson. "Bruce showed me expertise can come from anywhere. Never assume someone's limits based on their image." The case became a law school staple, teaching preparation, humility, and client collaboration. The story's deepest impact was its reminder: growth never stops. Springsteen's pursuit of law in his 60s inspired countless Americans to chase knowledge, regardless of age or circumstance. Barrett's transformation, from skeptic to advocate, showed even the powerful could learn humility. Together, they proved justice thrives when assumptions yield to truth. If this tale of grit and redemption stirred you, subscribe for more stories of moments that redefine what's possible. Share below. What inspired you most about Springsteen's journey? Because as this case proved, when preparation meets purpose, no one is untouchable, and justice prevails.